Yeah, just to start off, if you can give a quick description about your kind of background, your upbringing, and like your path to medicine and to like advocacy and health research and stuff like that.
Yeah, so I was born on the south side of Chicago, which, if you're not familiar with that part of the country, it's the largest contiguous African American community pretty much in the country. And my parents were immigrants and they went to graduate school at the University of Chicago. And unlike a lot of more recent immigrants who come here with their children, my brother and I were both born at the University of Chicago. And so, really, the community that I grew up and felt really comfortable with was the African American community. We went to Chicago public schools. We were probably the only non-African American student in the school up until probably we went to high school. So this was the community that I felt, really close to, and really from a very early age felt the need to think about advocacy and equity and social justice. My mother was the first Korean American graduate of the University of Chicago School of Social Work. And so really spent a lot of her time working in the housing projects, largely for African Americans, and really felt very drawn because that was my community. And really never had expectations that I was going to do anything in an Asian community. I was went to medical school, went to residency in internal medicine, was studying to be a gastroenterologist, really was going to spend my career doing basic science research. Never thought I was going to be a clinician, and certainly never thought I was going to study kind of from a professional aspect, health equity. And it was during my last year of GI fellowship when my mother was diagnosed and subsequently died from hepatitis B related liver cancer. And I was really surprised at that time that nowhere in my education did anyone tell me that 1 in 10 Asian Americans have hepatitis B, of which a quarter will die. No one told me that half of the burden of hepatitis B in the United States were in Asian Americans. And this really blatant disparity shocked me. And I thought, even though I'm doing basic science research, I can't really continue doing this type of research given the fact that I look like this. That as an Asian American, don't I have some obligation to be the voice of Asian health disparities that I was finding out so late in my career? I had already gone through medical school residency and almost was finishing GI fellowship, which treats hepatitis B. And so that's a little bit about sort of why I'm doing what I do. And shortly thereafter, after my mother passed away, way too young of an age, I started a nonprofit organization called the Asian Health Coalition. And that really started my career path about capacity building, thinking about inclusive policies, doing research, training the next generation, and engaging the community in a way that would really address kind of the invisible disparities that are faced by Asian Americans, including Korean Americans. I'm just going to say one more thing. So I grew up in Chicago, which is in Illinois. Illinois has maybe at that time, maybe the fifth largest Asian American population, but we didn't have an infrastructure for Asian health. And most of the people that I knew growing up were from the African American community. And what's interesting is there were no political appointees in the state of Illinois that were Asian. And so the way that we thought about inclusive policies is, even though we were the Asian Health Coalition, we worked very closely with the African American community. And the Black Caucus in Chicago was very powerful. And because the Black Caucus was composed of many of the friends that I had grown up with, we were able to really lean into each other and align in our mission to support inclusive policies and health disparities together. And many of the diseases that are really prevalent in Asian communities, hepatitis, infectious diseases, were really also very prevalent in African immigrant communities. And so we were able to co-capacity build and have the Black Caucus work with us as sort of a community-based organization to shed light on the needs of both African immigrant and Asian immigrant communities. So it was really kind of a wonderful opportunity to kind of highlight disparities among these very diverse, different, but very similar communities. Yeah, I'd say that I lean very heavily on community-based organizations as I was trying to figure out the path forward for addressing Asian health disparities. I didn't grow up or ever think that this is an area that I was going to be involved in. So I really was going to be a basic scientist, and doing health services research and writing grants that are non-basic science was very unfamiliar to me. So I really worked very closely with very successful community-based organizations. I partnered broadly. I asked a lot of questions and help from people. And what really was a turning point for me was that I was able to um, take on a leadership role in the University of Chicago's Comprehensive Cancer Center, which is a National Cancer Institute funded cancer center. The work I had done in the nonprofit organization that I started really taught me financial skills, how to follow mission, how to do fundraising. But I really wasn't making it part of my academic life. It was like something I was doing on the side, and I was a faculty during the time at the University of Chicago. And I was given an opportunity to take on a leadership role in the Cancer Center. And I brought that nonprofit organization mindset, which is how do you not chase money, but stick to a mission? How do you raise a dollar? How do you keep your staff, moving? How do you financially stay strong? How do you fundraise? And how do you write grants? I brought all of that that I sort of fumbled my way through for the first few years, and then just sort of became very, very good at it just by practice. And so I was able to hire a PhD nurse as my one of my first hires. She was trilingual, Mandarin, Cantonese, English. Um, she was just so much smarter than me, was really, really great at writing research grants. And because I hadn't gotten formal training in this type of science, I was like a sponge. I absorbed so much from her. And she and I have worked together for the last, 15 years, and wrote a lot of grants together. And so really she was a really, not only was she sort of staff member from my team, but she was my mentor. And then I had other mentors along the way. Now you have to understand at the University of Chicago, people were very interested in African American health, but virtually no one cared about Asian health, particularly in the Midwest. I mean, California and New York were really different. And so my mentorship and eye-opening experiences tended to happen in unusual places. I was asked to be part early on of a gastric cancer consortium that was funded by the NIH. And there I met two people that have been really, really helpful for me. One was Moon Chen, who was a principal investigator for the first Asian American cancer and CART. What did it stand for? I don't remember what it stood for, but he was leading a national center to understand cancer health disparities in Asian Americans. And one of his partners was Dr. Howard Koh, who I strongly recommend you meet. So Dr. Koh worked under the Obama administration as the highest ranking elected Asian American, who's Korean American, triple boarded Hannah, in dermatology, I think internal medicine, hematology, and oncology. And he was the commissioner of health for the state of Massachusetts, but he was under President Obama's administration. He was the assistant secretary of health and helped shape the Affordable Care Act. So I met him early on in my career. That predated this type of role that he had. And he was really driving health disparities, both for Asians and others, and Moon Chen. And I met them early on, and they really kind of were people that I kept intersecting with, and have been sort of informal mentors throughout my career. And Howard Koh in particular, he was my first keynote speaker, commencement speaker at my first graduation at Penn State last year. I couldn't think of a better person to come and inspire, future generations of recent graduates. So I've stayed in touch with him, and he and I were both giving keynote addresses in Korea at the Korean American Medical Association 2 weeks ago in Seoul. So he's been sometimes you find these people that really lift you up and sort of give you confidence as you grow. And I'm hoping to do that for the next generation. Yeah, so it's interesting. the problem with Asian health and Asian health disparities is it's been very understudied and it's never a priority. And so as a result, the data for Asian Americans is really difficult to interpret it. First of all, we're often aggregated into one big group, and we know that there's many differences between Asian populations. So we're aggregated in one. I think the other thing is we are often omitted. Everyone talks about, black-white disparities or underrepresented minority disparities. And we're not white and we're not treated that way. And yet nobody seems to think that we have issues because of our model minority status or the fact that we're overrepresented in medicine in terms of we're not overrepresented in medicine for leadership, but we're overrepresented in 20, we make up 20% plus of incoming medical students, and we make up 20% of the faculty. But from there, it really has a dramatic fall off in the number of Asian chairs and very few Asian deans. And so people seem to forget that. In terms of, so there's very little evidence-based data for Asian Americans disaggregated. And much of the data that we do have is either from Asia, and we know social determinants make a very big difference on how disease is presented, or it's done in English language, which, we're a very large, we have the most of all the populations, we have the most limited English proficient populations. And we are the one population that will continue over generations to have very large foreign-born communities. And so if you look at data that's only with English-speaking populations, you really are not going to be able to understand what a lot of the immigrant experiences. And so I've really advocated for that. And I'm proud to say that last year was the first time the NIH has put together and funded a longitudinal cohort of Asian American, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islanders. And it's probably through a lot of agitation and advocacy that thought leaders representing the Asian community have really pushed the NIH to think about. Because if we're not at the table when it comes to data, then our diseases will continue to go up, and we will continue to have bigger and bigger disparities. At the same time, we tend to think of minority health as a zero-sum game. So if I give to you, I can't give to somebody else. And there is no doubt that other minority communities have significant barriers that many of us face or many of us don't face. And so we can't make this a competition. And that's really what has happened often, that we get pitted against each other. And there's a lot of resentment that happens against the Asian community as a result of that. But we just want a seat at the table. We just want our communities cared for. We just want our disparities addressed in the same way that any other community deserves to have done. And so that's something that I have been a real leader in thinking about and have been a very vocal advocate for inclusion. Yeah, so I'm very interested in cancer and cancer disparities. And, Asians were the first, in aggregate, were the first population to die of cancer as the #1 cause of death. I don't think that's a very well-known fact. And heart disease, depending on which population, South Asian populations, the Filipino populations, is really prevalent, which is why this epidemiological cohort is funded by the Institute for heart and lung, because we have really significant problems with heart disease that are really amenable to treatment. I think that the infectious diseases, cancers associated with infectious diseases, are really disproportionately found in Asian Americans. So, for instance, hepatitis B and liver cancer, human papillomavirus, and why am I blanking on head and neck cancer? And Helicobacter pylori and gastric cancer. Asians tend to be disproportionately represented in cancers that are infectious in nature. And I think that it's really important to continue to advocate for many of these that are preventable by vaccines. And we need to make sure that messaging for preventable diseases reach the population in language-specific communication and culturally nuanced language, culturally competent information. So that's where I think working with Asian-based, community-based organizations are really critical to reach the communities that are often ignored.
Yeah, it's definitely when you mentioned that having more like definitely cancer and definitely gastrointestinal issues is affects the Korean American community a lot. Um, I just wanted to kind of ask if you have any encountered any kind of challenges in your career that you faced and kind of what you did to overcome them, if there's anything that you would like to talk about with that.
Yeah, I mean, I think probably there's a lot of stereotypes associated with Asians that we should that we're I almost always know when someone's writing about an Asian student because they usually use humble, quiet, not strong leadership, all the things that many ways that we're raised to be exhibit, sort of don't, the if you stick out as a nail, you're going to get hammered down, don't, just conform, that kind of maybe thing that we tell our children or that we're raised with. I don't know. A lot of it comes from Confucian thinking if you trace it back. Um, and I would say that I face a lot of that. So sort of, as a woman and as an Asian woman, I think people have expectations. And in some ways, I think it's easier for Asian women than it is for Asian men. But kind of a lot of expectations like, why are you so loud? Or, why are you so direct? Or, you're not supposed to be like this. And when you break out of the stereotype, you get penalized for it. People think, why are you like that? You're supposed to be quiet and, humble and fall in line. Why are you like that? And so I would say that I spent most of my career breaking down those barriers. I grew up in, like I said, in a very different environment. I grew up in largely a Black community. There were lots of advocacy, a very, very oral culture, very strong oral culture of, communicating a message, saying what you want, saying it quickly, so I grew up like that. And I didn't ever grow up feeling like I fit sort of in any stereotype. And but I have faced a lot of barriers, and I feel like, you get bypassed for opportunities. People make assumptions about you. You have to constantly advocate for yourself and for those around you. So I would say there was a lot of barriers. And I know if Hannah heard my talk last year, I when I started looking at dean's jobs, someone told me that, it's very difficult to place Asians into dean's positions, particularly if they don't speak English as well. And then they went on to tell me, but you speak English well. I'm like, really? I'm American. Why wouldn't I speak English? It's my only language that I speak. So there's a lot of those type of stereotypes, and you have to call them out because when the search firm said that to me, I said, thank you. You speak English well too. And she thought I was crazy because she's like, this white woman. I'm like, well, you're crazy too, saying that to me. So, let's move on. So I do think that it's really hard as an Asian leader to always have to be the one calling people out. But I think that as a leader, if you don't do that, then it makes it hard for the future generations. Because I guarantee you, she's never going to say that to somebody else. So as a student, you're in a very vulnerable situation. So if you become sort of a squeaky wheel or whatever, you'll be labeled, and that can be sort of a disadvantage. So I think what you do is you find a mentor who can sort of speak on your behalf. I mean, you can speak up. I spoke up all the time, but you can speak up, but you have to be really careful on sort of the way that you speak up. I find that the hardest conversations for me have been when I have been in a really diverse audience and people don't think I have a problem. And particularly sort of like it when you're in a situation where there's another minority who feels like we don't have a problem because we're Asian. That's a very challenging conversation to have. So you want to lean in and, be together, but a lot of times Asians are thrown out of the conversation when it comes to equity. You don't really have problems, and that's a very, very challenged conversation. So usually what I recommend to students is find that mentor who is going to be able to represent kind of the viewpoints that you want, and make sure that you're able to find your voice with help through a mentor. I'll tell you, I recently had an Asian student so I'm in Hershey, Pennsylvania, so it's not a very diverse population. And I'm here to build a rural platform because I did a lot of rural health. And rural health is not Asian health. But I have an Asian medical student who said that, and so there's very few Asians around, and there's very few Asian patients. And she was at the nurses station, and there was an Asian family there, and the nurses were joking, and they were saying like ching chong, the typical thing. I don't know if your generation hears that anymore, but I mean, when I hear that, my hair stands on end, and I am in pure fighting mode. But so she shared that with me, and I said, "What did you do?" Now she's a medical student, and medical students are always being evaluated. Someone is, you have to get your scores and you have to have written evaluation. And so she didn't say anything because she didn't feel comfortable. And I think it would have been really uncomfortable to challenge nurses or physicians or whoever was there that were laughing. And so I told her that in the future, she should just come knock on my office because I'm the dean of the medical school. I'd say that I have a little bit of power. And I said, I'll fight that battle for you. And so she hasn't come back. And I don't want to overstep what she wants. And it would be pretty easy to identify, when this happened. And so what I have done is implemented a training across all the nurses, just in general, to just bury any kind of issue that would happen at one individual. I think that's what we have to do. We have to take a system-wide approach to make sure that people understand diverse populations. Yeah, my advice is one is to really find your voice and use it. My other advice is, don't be apologetic for leadership. We and because I see that a lot with students, and I really, particularly for Asian students. The other thing that I think is really important is do the best job that you can do in the area that you're in, because I don't think that we can help anyone as you sort of go up the career ladder until you've achieved the highest standing that you can achieve, regardless of where that's at. Because it's only then that you can really help kind of generations below you. And I know you're really young and you're still trying to go up, but I think that's really important. Um, and I don't let people put you in a box that you don't want to be in, because everyone's always trying to sort of shape you and get you to be someone else or conform to what's kind of the norm. And I think that for Asian students in particular, I really want you to find your own identity, feel very proud of it, unapologetically. And I think that's so important. Wear your culture on your sleeve if it's what you're proud of, and don't let anyone make you feel like you need to whitewash that.
No, it's really encouraging because I feel like it's so easy to think otherwise in medicine,
Mhm.
especially when we look at leadership. And even at UCLA, I came to this school thinking there would be a lot more ANHPI representation in our leadership. And because it's in LA, and I was like, oh, LA is quite diverse of a community, but that hasn't been the case. None of our deans, none of our faculty is really ANHPI. And so there has been more of an effort, especially in the collective effort that we have, regardless of all the cultural differences, while recognizing that in the diversity of our label as an ANHPI community, but also working together, I think has been much more of a unifying force to really advance and finding our voice in this hard world of leadership, in my opinion. But I
Yeah.
wanted to first thank you so much, but for being that kind of leader, who's much more inspiring and very empowering. And I really think what really took out from the conversation you shared last year was how proud you were to be a Korean American, because I think it was not kind of evident a lot of other leaders when they talk about their leadership. They might try to adopt another type of identity, but I was really, really taken aback about how much pride you had being as a Korean American, and really trying to push that forward across all of us as a KAMSA community and a KAMA community. But I just want to thank you so much for this time. And I,
Well, I'm going to just say that what's
yeah,
shocking to me is I'm the only Korean American woman ever to be
right.
a dean of a U.S. medical school. And to me, that's such a sad statement because there's so many Korean American doctors. And, there's only 159 or 157 deans in the United States. But given the pool of talent that are Korean American doctors or Asian American doctors, it's really, it's a sad, sad statement. So so proud to be able to do this work, but I'm really ready to pass the torch so people, other Korean Americans or Asian American leaders can come into be dean roles. And so when I was struggling in the beginning, which I was struggling, I didn't know what I was doing. I was very worried that I would be seen as a Korean American failure. And so it was really, really interesting I never felt like you're carrying a whole community with you. But I really felt that pressure. And now I think I'm just kicking ass in this position. And I am so proud to be, and I've always been proud to be a Korean American woman dean. And, I hope to leave a pretty powerful legacy.
You are truly a walking history, I would say. And we're
Thank
very
you.
welcome to have you as not just part of our community, but really speak to just the students who might feel very discouraged in their journey. And I think sometimes
Yeah.
it can be quite a stark disillusionment that they might face when in their training, but to have leaders like you, especially someone who is so uplifting in her words. I'm sure a lot of people will benefit from this podcast. But once again, thank you so much. I do think there is no other questions on
Okay. Well,
end,
I
but
just want to say, Hannah and Justin, I'm very proud of you and proud of your leadership for putting this together, reaching out boldly, and putting this together for you and your peers. That is what leadership looks like. So, congratulations. I know this is a lot of work and a lot of time. Sometimes it can be intimidating, but I want to just say how proud I am of you representing our communities together and, putting this together. So you should be really proud of yourselves.
thank you so much.
Yeah,
Okay,
thank
you
you.
guys, and stay in touch with me. First of all, send me this podcast. I'd love to see it, how
Of
goofy I
course,
am.
of course. Yes, yes.
But I'm proud of you and I would love to see you. I'm going to be going to Duke
Oh,
for maybe a PAMSA meeting coming up, maybe in the spring or something. But,
you are
you know,
coming? I'm
yeah.
a PAMSA board, so I'll be there.
Oh, yeah. So
Yay.
I'll be there. Hannah, you have to come up and introduce yourself because I won't know what you look like.
I
Um,
will. I will. I'll be like, I'm the podcast girl.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So you guys, thank you again. And, it's really fun taking some time out of my schedule to meet you guys. So, good luck and congratulations.
All right. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah,
Bye-bye.
thank you.